All right, good morning, guys. So here we are. The car's back at the house. 1 week before the dyno. We'll be headed to the dyno next Saturday, and we'll get some footage of that. But before we go to the dyno, we've got a lot of work to do on the car to get it ready. So this doesn't run off a computer. It runs mechanical fuel injection. So as far as getting the fuel settings right, we use, and I've showed you in past videos, the high-speed bleed off the barrel valve and all those. The plugs show that we're not too bad, but the car never gets temperature. So we're going to try and see where we're at on the dyno with the fuel settings to see if that's our issue with the motor not getting temperature and kind of being flat at the last race, and see just basically where we are compared to everybody else. But we also have a lambda gauge. So this little gauge here, and this is a wideband sensor that we're going to plug into the exhaust, and I'll show you that work after. So we're going to hook this up near the tach so that we can pay attention to what our air fuel mixture is as it comes out of the exhaust on the dyno and moving forward. We're going to have this installed for next year so that we can get better readings. Thanks to Andy Barrows for getting us initially set up with this, and DJ and Ryan going out and getting the parts we needed. Mike Marshall for coaching us through the install. Well, it's not in yet, but telling this wire goes to here. So, but Ryan and I are going to get to work. First thing we're going to do is get this thing apart quite a bit so that we can get at the torque tube and get the torque tube problem fixed first. So that entails taking a bunch of the panels off, seat, and all that other stuff. So I'll let you guys watch that, and we'll see you in a bit. All right, guys, so a lot of work that Ryan and I have done here so far. We actually took the new torque tube and the torque ball out, which failed at the last race. I'll show you. So if you see inside here, the U-joint was hitting on there. Not bad yet, but that definitely started causing a vibration, which the driver picked up on. So what Ryan and I did was the old torque ball, the setup that we had, we ended up getting a new torque ball for it, but wouldn't go with the torque tube we got. We've repaired all these parts. Ryan took this and fixed this where it was all cooked together here. So this is what it looks like. We shortened this back so that this will never hit the inside of this again. But what I think's happening here is that we're not leaving ourselves enough room here. So this is essentially like the like a third, it's called a torque tube and a torque ball because it handles the torque to the rear end. It keeps the rear end from pivoting up and down. So what Ryan and I did was, to make sure that the torque ball isn't going to hit, is we added some spacers in here for the dyno, which has given us a little bit extra on the torque ball. But as you can see, they look for about 4 inches of overlap here between the torque ball and the torque ball and the housing for stability, and we're falling a little bit short on that. The other one's even shorter as far as the distance goes, so we'll look at that when we put the other one together. So we'll go over to the other one. I'll show you what I think was going on. So with the overlap, not having enough overlap under high torque, when I looked at the torque ball in the car, it had this kind of a look to it. It was barely able to pick up on it, but it had that kind of a look to it. So the overlap that we had, I don't think is enough. I'm hoping to find a new torque ball to be able to use this setup. We like the front housing, how it looks. The way it's designed, this is different. It doesn't allow us to space out like that one, how it goes together. So because it's a coupler and it doesn't have the little flange that would allow us to add distance here. So I think we're going to make a ring, a 1/4 inch ring, to go on the front. A 1/4 inch space would go on the front of this, which is going to pull us back a little bit. And then if we could find a longer torque ball, or maybe even go a little bit longer on the torque tube, to not have it the coupler hitting, but give us a little bit more clearance. So that's what we did. We're going to button that all up. Then we got to change over tires for the dyno, because we have to run the same size tire, because the dyno's definitely not going to like 5.5 inches of stagger. And then we'll install the lambda gauge. All right, guys, good morning. So it's dyno day. I'm going to give you a rundown of what's happened so far. So we did get the air fuel gauge finally in, and it works. That's actually not the air fuel gauge that we had. The air fuel gauge that we had from Innovate, and the wideband sensor and everything right here, that ended up not working for whatever reason. Mike Marshall of MLM Diagnostics of Hudson, New Hampshire, went out, got us what we needed, calibrated it on his machine, and we fired it up late last night. When you live in the middle of the woods, you can do stuff like that. Fired it up, everything worked. Oils changed for the dyno, because we did have close to 100 laps on that last oil change. That's kind of pushing it as far as we'd like to do. We did have some fuel in the oil, so I'm glad we kind of did that before we went to the dyno. We've got the torque tube replaced like we wanted to do, and right now I put a left rear tire on the right rear, and the reason for that is when we go to the chassis dyno, obviously 5.5 inches of stagger is a bad deal. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the car. I'm going to set the ride heights real quick so it's easier to get on and off the dyno. We don't have to worry about setup, because this thing's going to come all apart anyways over the winter. We may have found part of our problem. We found, and I will put the camera down. So our fuel shutoff had play in it, and was leaking. We actually had, if you could see the ball, there's play inside here, in the on-off itself, and it's inside the thing. So we noticed we had little spot methanol on the ground that would evaporate quickly. But then when we were taking the panel off, it was everywhere. And somewhere along the lines, we were going through a lot of fuel. So what we're thinking is possibly that when he tried to get back on the gas in the corners, when we needed the most fuel pressure, we may have been sucking air through this. And so I reached out. I basically ordered another one through Capital, because they ship and I get it next day. So we got, that's all brand new in there. The main fuel shutoff that we have to run, that goes through the panel. We don't have the panels on for the dyno today, because we're going to hopefully have a chance to make a couple quick adjustments. I may not be able to show you what we're doing on the fly, because the dyno may have other people lined up ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the fuel in that I got from my brother to replace everything that we dripped out in the trailer and on the ground. get this car on the ground and set the right heights. All right, guys, so we're ready to go to the dyno. Last thing I'm doing, bringing the garage up to about, I don't know, hopefully 100 degrees so that the car warms up. It's really cold outside, so I want to get the oil up through and get this thing fired once before we throw it in the trailer and go. That'll help us when we get there. Don't forget, guys, if you like the videos and you like what you're seeing on the Home Track channel, got it right, DJ, Home Track channel, under Circle Track Adventures, you'll find everything to do with the 16 NEMA Light, the 16 NEMA Midget, the Jim O'Brien and Sons Engineering Racing Team. So check out all those videos, like, subscribe, and comment if you have any feedback. See you at the races, see you at the dyno.